So, when you look at muscles, if you look at the physical organization, okay, they are usually contained in groups, okay, in what are known as compartments. Okay. They are contained in like different compartments. So, if you look at your thigh, okay, you will have an anterior compartment, okay, remember anterior in the front. So, those will be, what muscles do you think will be there? I just pointed out to you. The anterior compartment would be your quadriceps muscles. The quadriceps muscles would form the anterior compartment. Then in your medial compartment, medial is towards the inner part of your thigh, you would have a compartment which has some muscles that are responsible for adducting the thigh, right, because imagine if that muscle contracts, how is your thigh going to move with respect to the hip joint. So, you have in the medial compartment you have the adductors. So, usually the muscles in one compartment have a similar function, they perform as, so you have all the knee extensors which are the quadriceps, okay. Quadriceps would be in the anterior compartment. Then in the posterior compartment, okay, the posterior compartment you have the hamstrings, okay, which are the flexors, knee flexors. So, they all, usually the muscles in a compartment are innervated by the same nerve, okay, that is how they form these, and the compartments are defined by fibrous tissue which are called fascia. So, it is common for muscles in one compartment to be innervated by the same nerve. Okay. So, if you look at a cross section of the thigh, for instance, so if you have that, you would have the femur, and then you would have the muscles in a compartment like that. So, these may be one set of muscles, then I could have, so these would be say in the, if these are the anterior compartment, then these would be the quadriceps. So, you would have the vastus lateralis, the vastus medialis and the rectus femoris, and somewhere the intermedius also. And then you have in the posterior compartment a group of muscles which would be the biceps femoris, the semitendinosus and the semimembranosus. And then you have some compartment, this is nowhere close to the actual anatomic structure, but you get the idea. So, you have these would be the medial compartment and they would be the adductors. So, each group would be extensors or flexors or adductors or abductors. That. So, this is your posterior compartment. So, if this is the case, if I am giving you a cross section of this and this is your femur, that is your femur. Femur is your thigh bone. So, which leg is this a cross section of? From what I have marked here, it is the right leg. So, I have taken like a cross section here, taken a slice there and that is what it looks like from the top. Okay. Because if this is the right leg, this is the medial. I have told you this is the medial compartment, this is anterior, this is posterior. So, you know what I am referring to. Okay. Okay. So, now if you look at the overall fiber arrangements in these muscles, there are two types that you will see. You have two kinds of fiber arrangements. One is called the parallel arrangement, where the fibers are parallel to the length of the muscle, okay, and then to the long axis of the muscle. So, parallel fibers parallel to the long axis of the muscle. In the parallel type of muscle, you have various kinds, okay, the various shapes that you could have. So, you could have the fusiform type, okay, where it is like a spindle. You have a pronounced belly of this muscle, okay, the middle of the muscle is bulging, okay, it is like a spindle, it is shaped like a spindle, but all the fibers are parallel to. So, you have the tendon on either side and you can see that the fibers are parallel to the long axis of the muscle. You could also have a non-fusiform type of a parallel muscle. This is like the sartorius muscle which runs across your thigh, and that is almost like a strap, okay, it is almost like a strap. So, it does not have a pronounced belly, okay, it does not have a pronounced belly.
Can you please elaborate difference between the fiber and muscles?
Fiber and, okay. So, you have the muscles are essentially groups of fibers. We will talk about the structure. So, you have the compartments are bunches of muscles, okay, which are covered by some connective tissue which is called the fascia. Now, if you look at a muscle itself, okay, first of all you can have the muscle can be what is known as a striated muscle or a smooth muscle. You may have seen that in your biology. Okay. The striated muscles, you can see these striations, right, and the smooth muscle. So, skeletal muscle is the striated muscle. You actually have cardiac muscles also which are striated. So, let me just mention that you have striated muscle, the first kind of differentiation, and you have smooth muscle, and striated can be either skeletal or cardiac muscle, and then you have of course the smooth muscles. Now which do not fall. The thing about the cardiac and the smooth muscles is that they are not under voluntary control. They are under the control of the autonomous nervous system. Okay. You do not decide when your heart beats and it does not. Okay. The nervous system has complete control over these cardiac muscles and the smooth muscles in the body. You do not have. On the other hand, the skeletal muscles are under voluntary control of the human. Okay. So, these are the muscles. I decide how my hand moves. I can control my skeletal muscles. I decide how I move. Okay. So, in these groups of muscles, now we are talking about individual muscles and how they are. Okay. So, when I look at the muscle, I can classify them into parallel muscles or a pennate muscle. Now, I am only talking about skeletal muscles. In this course, we will only focus on the skeletal muscles, because those are the muscles causing the movement. So, if you look at the parallel muscles, the fibers, the structure of the muscle may be in different forms, which is what we are talking about now, structure of an individual muscle from the macro level. We are not going into the microscopic level, we are looking at the macro level. The macro level, you have the parallel arrangement of the fibers of the muscle, and that is, in that you have different types. So, you have what is known as the fusiform type, which is the one that is shaped like a spindle with a pronounced belly of the muscle. So, you can see that the middle of the muscle is fatter than the ends. Okay. And then you have a non-fusiform type, which is more like a strap. Okay. You have, again the fibers are parallel. So, if this is the muscle, they are parallel to the length of the muscle, to the longitudinal axis of the muscle. Okay. So, that is like a strap, it does not have a pronounced belly of the muscle. Then you have what is known as, you also have some muscles known as the flat muscles. Okay. So, for instance, these muscles here, okay, this is another, it is not marked in this figure, but you have essentially muscles that are, if this is how they are attached, then you have the fibers go like that. Okay. And it is more or less flat. Okay. So, these are flat muscles, and these are again parallel fiber arrangement. You have a flat arrangement. Then you have what is known as a convergent arrangement. So, you have fibers, okay, that converge to a small cross section where you have the tendon. So, they start from a larger area and then converge to a small area. So, this is called the convergent type of parallel muscle fibers. Okay. So, this sort of a flat tendon, okay, is called an aponeurosis. It is basically a flat tendon over a large area. Okay. So, that is how it attaches to them. So, there are three ways muscles could attach to the bone. You could have your typical tendon kind of an attachment. It could attach directly to the bone, or it could attach to this flat tendon like structure called the aponeurosis. Okay, so, these are different ways that it could attach to this. So, and then you have this muscle typically around openings where it's like a muscle that's wound around, but the fibers are circular and they are parallel to one another along the axis of the muscle. Okay. So, you have it's like this. That is how the muscle fibers go. Okay. So, this is around your mouth. This is an example again of a parallel arrangement of the muscle fibers, but in the parallel arrangement it forms the circular configuration, circular configuration of the parallel arrangement. So, you have 5 different types of parallel arrangements. You could have the flat, the fusiform, the non-fusiform, the convergent and the circular. Okay. These are the possible arrangements in the parallel arrangement of the muscle. So, a flat broad tendon is called the aponeurosis. Now, the thing about this parallel arrangement is you can get a greater range of shortening, because the muscle length is especially if you look at this kind of a fusiform, the muscle length equals the fiber length. The fiber length and the muscle length are equal. So, how much ever the fibers shorten, the muscle also shortens. Okay. So, you get a high movement velocity, because you can shorten over a longer length. So, you get a greater range of shortening with the parallel arrangement, and therefore, you can get a higher movement velocity. So, you will see in your appendicular skeleton, you will have muscles that are which have these parallel arrangements with your extremities, right. You can move because you get more speed with the greater shortening. And typically in the parallel fibers, the muscles, the parallel muscles, I am using this symbol for the parallel, are longer than the other types. And the muscle fiber is longer than the tendon. In the pennate fibers, the structure is somewhat different. You have a central tendon, okay, and you have the fibers at an angle to that tendon. So, this is clearer here. So, you have a tendon that runs centrally, okay, and then your muscle fibers are, it is like a feather structure. Okay. So, imagine this is, you have this kind of a feather structure for the, if it is only on one side, this is called a unipennate. it's not very clear from this diagram. And if it's on both sides of that central tendon, if the fibers are diverging out like that, then this is called a bipennate. In the case of the deltoid muscle, here you have from the central tendon, okay, you have a central tendon like that, and then you have these fibers going out like that. Okay, you have what is a multi-pennate arrangement. So, here the direction of the force applied by the muscle, okay, on to whatever bone it is attached to is in one direction, but the force generated by the fibers is in another direction. And this angle is called the pennation angle.
Tendons and fibers both comprises a muscle.
No, a tendon is a structure that attaches a muscle to the bone. It is a different kind of connective tissue. Okay, tendons are passive structures. Muscles are the only active structures in this system that we are talking about, right. Only the muscles have the capacity to generate force. Okay, the tendons only transmit the force to whatever structure they are attached to.
In deltoids, where is the tendon?
In
Deltoid.
hold on. Sorry, the tendon should be here. The tendon should be, it's across the shoulder.
Okay, on the whole bones.
On, yeah. So the deltoids are what are responsible for this movement, right. I will try to get a better picture of the of that arrangement. Let me see. So, so in the, okay, this is okay. I have so the deltoids. This is not a very good picture, but really the deltoids look like this. You have tendons that go like that over that, okay, and then you have and then you have the fibers that are like this. That is how the deltoid muscle structure is. Okay. So, this is, and all these tendons meet together here. Okay. These so, this is the multi-pennate arrangement of the deltoid. So, here how it looks actually is, you have the long axis of the muscle like that, but you have the fibers aligned like that. Okay. That is why it is a pennate muscle. Okay. So, the fibers are not aligned with the long axis of the muscle. Okay. Forearm you have a unipennate muscle, but like I said, this diagram does not show you very well, it is more like this. It will be where all the fibers are at an angle to the long axis of the muscle. They are not parallel to the long axis of the muscle. Yeah, it is. It is from the tendon that you have this.
And that axis would be passed through tendon axis or like?
Yeah, because the tendon is that is how it is transmitted, right. So, when you talk about the force transmission axis, it's the tendon is what is going to apply the force to the bone. So, that would be the axis of the force that is applied, whereas the actual force generated is different. And if you look at the actual force that is transmitted, it will be whatever is generated times cos theta. Okay. We will continue with a little bit more discussion on the pennate muscles in the next class, and we will then look at the muscle fiber structure. Okay. So, here this is the muscle part of it, and this will be the tendon. Okay. So, the muscle, you have the tendon, but the muscle has the fibers that are aligned in this angle. So, wherever it attaches to the bone, okay. So, if this is like a, so if it attaches to a bone here, it attaches to a bone here, then this is your musculotendinous junction. Then you have the muscle, but the fibers of the muscle are at an angle. That is your unipennate. In this case, you have the tendon which is central. Okay. So, it could be passing like that. So, you could have the long tendon, a tendon that is longer than the muscle fiber, okay, but it goes through the central axis, and then you have the muscles that are creating forces at angles from that central tendon.
This is the diagram for the parallel fusiform.
Which one?
This one, green color. Right.
This one? No. This is not the diagram for the parallel fusiform. The difference, that is a good question. The difference between the parallel fusiform, this is the unipennate. The parallel fusiform, the fibers are all parallel to that. The fibers are like this. That is the difference between the parallel fusiform and the pennate, unipennate. Okay. And in this case, in the pennate muscles, the tendons may actually be longer than the muscle fibers, which is not the case in the parallel muscles.